Welcome back to Real Estate with Mariah and Spenc. Today we are going to be answering some questions, and these are questions that everybody wants to know right now about the housing market, what to expect, what is going on. These are basically just things that I think everyone should be aware of, especially if you own a home or if you're wanting to own a home or buy a home within the next year or so. You're going to want to stay tuned today.
It seems like lately, as the market's changing, yes, we're in the new year, yes, we're in 2024, people want to own a home, but there's that insecurity of can they afford it really? And there's unknown with the mortgage rates even. You can go online, you can be on social media, and there's so much misinformation, I feel like, because everybody's a wannabe. Seriously, we want our faces out there in a video, just like we're doing, okay? We're part of that clan. But our job as realtors is to guide you and put you in the best position possible to put you into home ownership if that's a possibility. And it's nobody twisting your arm. It's nobody's choice but yours. If you can afford a home at a 6.5% interest rate at some of the highest elevated housing costs that we've ever seen, then let's go for it. But there are deals to be made, and I think today it's a valuable show for you guys to listen to all the way through. And we are in a little bit of a new setting. We took the mics off the stand. And I'm kind of excited. I get a lounge and a couch, and maybe today's show's a little bit longer than you guys are used to. So sit tight. This is audience questions.
Yes.
And we're going to answer these things with our honest opinion because we do close transactions. We do real estate deals. We are not just full-time podcasters. I'm not a guy that works another job.
Nope.
This is
it.
our one and only job.
Yep.
And
this is it.
There's nothing better to do than real estate, in my opinion. And that's what Mariah and I are. We're a real estate team, husband and wife team, based out of Oregon. And if you need to make the move or have any questions in regards to your state or our specific state, reach out.
Yeah. Also, before we get into these questions, two quick questions that just came to my mind that I thought we should address because they were asked to me today by two separate home buyers. One of them was some home buyers. They sent me some houses. They're super excited to finally, first time home buyers own a home in 2024. That is their year that they're going to become homeowners. I know it for them. And they were really excited wanting to view these properties. However, they haven't talked to their lender yet. We've sent them their lender a while ago. So why is that so important? Why is that the number one thing you got to do before you start viewing houses?
Well, think about it. The lender owns the money. They're the house. You go to a casino, the house is the casino. So if you're up, you're up. The house money, you play off of it. But the banks, the lenders have the money. Without money, you can't make a purchase. Okay, so go to your lender. See if you can get the money to then make a purchase at the specific homes that you might be sending us right now.
Yeah.
Because it takes less than 24 hours. I promise you, less than 24 hours to get pre-approved for a loan of your estimated income, your estimated monthly debts, and then bam. We can then have an idea of what you can afford based off of your annual income, what your W-2 said off the last year's tax statement. And we're in action. But the number one thing is don't waste my time because I don't want to waste your time, okay? And at the end of the day, when I am on showings, it's basically free. When you're working with the buyer's agent, these buyer's agents, you don't pay them a dime. They're writing up these deals. They're showing you homes. They're spending their gas money. They're making the calls to the listing agents. They're setting up valuable time for you. But if you can't even afford the home, then I would suggest there's a little bit of a difficulty in relationship. So what I'm always doing is being upfront and honest.
Yeah.
And the honest answer is go to your lender first.
Yeah.
And it's not rude, it's not crude, and it's not mean.
Yeah.
It's, hey, here's the professional side of me.
Yeah.
I've done this 101 times over the years. Mariah's been in the business 9 years. That's unbelievable. We're talking about this morning. Kudos to you, Mariah.
I'm getting old.
And
we
know how to work a deal. And the first place you start is your lender.
And also, just to add, I'm thinking of some sellers that they were with the house I was buying. I was representing the buyer and the sellers of this particular home. Like, it was extremely difficult for them to get out of the house, even just for us to have a home inspection or something like that, because of their situation.
It can be hard.
Having a baby, dogs, work from home, like all of that, it can be really difficult for sellers to do showings, and sellers just don't want buyers in their homes unless they're pre-qualified, because quite frankly, it can be a big waste of time for them. So that's the first one. And then real quick, my second question, before we get into these questions that you need to know this year are, so I was having a conversation with a buyer this morning who's relocating to our area. She's never been to the Pacific Northwest, and she's moving from another part of the country, and she's a little hesitant about this side of the country because she's heard from everyone she knows who has lived here. Apparently, like, everyone she knows who has lived in this area has had mold issues. So she's like, is this just them, or is this the area? And they are all renters. So what I said was, this is probably a bad landlord situation, because when you're buying a house, that's not something you necessarily need to be worried about, because although mold can happen here, you know, we get a lot of rain, the weather, whatever. If you are buying a house, the lenders can't even like lend on it if there's mold issues. So we're going to get an inspection, and you'll have the chance to find out right away and back out if that is an issue.
Yeah, and you know, you seen the video, the landlord special. These guys aren't trying to make money by spending money. So landlords, they're going to take the ultimate, I guess, cop out, you could say, to not do any repairs until necessary, that the tenant says, hey, I can't even breathe. I've heard of black mold situations, and the owner just doesn't even fix it and forces the tenant to leave. Because maybe it's a play to get the tenant out of the house, so then they can bump rent in today's current rental prices.
Right.
So there's a lot at play for that. But what I can tell you is maintenance is key. And there are homes that are under-maintained. I'm working in a real estate transaction right now, a beautiful deal. 3 parcels, a guy who's inherited the property, but he's wanting to purchase it from father-in-law, whatever. But the home's condition isn't the best. And so what does he do? He's got to get through the appraisal period because he's buying it on a loan. Okay, he's buying it from father-in-law, and it's going to be a great deal at the end of the day. But there's repairs that's necessary, and just so happens to be there's mold. So when you talk about mold, it can be costly. It really can be. But Mariah answered that beautifully. You have this inspection period. Then ultimately you do have us too guiding you in the right direction of, hey, I think this home might not be what you're looking for because you're out of state. We're the eyes on the prize for you here in Oregon, and take our opinion and the video footage we're sending you. Because if you need this out of a home and this one's got what you don't need in a home, meaning mold, we're going to probably pass. And we're going to tell you, hey, in my honest opinion, I saw this. I think you got too much work on it, yada, yada, yada. That's just called being a good broker, representing you as our buyer. And it's absolutely free. I can't stress that enough.
Yes, $0 to you as the buyer. Okay, so let's get into these questions. But first, really, really quick, if you listen to this video this far, way through, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because we come on here every single week and have conversations about real estate. If you are a real estate agent in another state listening to this, because I know not all of our viewers are like home buyers and sellers, some are also people in the industry. Let us know in the comments. We love chatting with you guys in the comments below, whether you're a home buyer, seller, or a fellow realtor or somebody in the industry. Okay, so the first question is, where are rates right now, and where, as people in the real estate industry, do you hear that they will be this year?
Well, do you want to go on this? Because I could talk for a quick minute.
Okay, well, I'll just say they're in the high 6s right now. What do you think? What do you have to say about this?
No, and I agree. So I was really intrigued. As the new year started, you know, the feds are all talking about, hey, the next interest rate meeting, it's the end of January, and we've all heard it. We were at 7.5%. We were even hitting 8% in some home buyers.
Yes.
They were literally getting interest rates at like 7.99 to 8%. I'm like, how are we doing this as middle-class Americans? But the priority is home ownership if there was a deal to be made and having a roof over your head. Where we're at right now, the feds have de-escalated these interest rates. They've dropped them at least 1.5 points. Okay, we are sitting in the mid-6.5s, okay? Feds just had a meeting. I was waiting for this because everybody gets these articles, everybody gets a hearsay moments, but when it actually happens, what are the feds going to do? Well, they just went in the meeting. Nothing really happened with interest rates. They're sitting at a 5.5% federal rate. Now, usually the mortgage rate's about a 1.5 points to a point above that. So you do the math. They're sitting at a 5.5. It's going to be averaging about 6.5 to 7% still for the average home buyer. Is that great? No, but at least it's not 8%. I'm dealing with the transaction right now. She's sitting at about a 6.4. Okay, 6.45. They bought down that rate.
Really?
For about $8,000.
Wow.
So she's realistically at 6.75, whatever. Wow. And they bought that down for $8,000. Her mortgage rate is still sitting at above $3,000 a month. And this is a single mother buying a $375,000 condo. Now, if that doesn't tell you somebody's willing and able and can do it, I mean, I don't know what does. But the priority in her life is home ownership, but a roof over her head. I'm representing the seller in this contract, not her. But at the end of the day, those little details gives me a lot of insight of what buyers are thinking and doing. And she made the sacrifice. She understands that the residential housing is not for her in that particular area because of the price. But she went the condo townhouse route. She's got affordability because of her workplace. She's got great income coming. She's a nurse. And she's making it happen at that 6.5% interest rate. What I can tell you is it's going to come down over that. I really feel it. Once we hit May, June, July, this real estate market is going to be booming. So if you've been on the fence and you've been waiting, I just see where it can either bite you in the butt or it's going to be really good. Because more homes are going to be on market. Inventory is going to be a little bit higher. I think inventory has been higher right now. But that's giving you room to negotiate your closing costs. Because, for instance, this Gresham deal, the closing costs are getting half paid for. That's how the rate was bought down through that $8,000.
That's awesome.
So
and if it were a different market where interest rates were lower, meaning more competition, then would they have been able to get the closing costs paid for? Probably not.
Right. And you look at average days on market. I mean, we're looking at 60, 70, even 80 days on market in some areas. And we were used to 10, 12 days, 20 days on market until receiving an offer.
Abnormal, but yes.
Oh my gosh.
Very quick.
It feels like yesterday. But we're still in a position of educating you guys, educating our sellers of where we're at in today's real estate market. Things are selling.
Yeah, I was just listening to a video from I don't know, maybe 2-3 years ago, not even that long ago, talking about the housing market. And it was saying I don't remember the last time that we wrote an offer on a house that was contingent on the buyer's home selling, because we're not seeing contingencies. It's like unheard of. And right now we're seeing a lot of that. So it's just like there are pros and cons no matter the market you buy in. So that leads me to the next question, which is, do you think that with mortgage rates possibly going into the low 6s, we could see a bunch of home buyers coming out and making certain price ranges more competitive, making home prices go up even more? Which this is hyper local.
They're going to come out of the woods.
They are going to come out of the woods. I do also think this is hyper local though, because I know for me, I talk to real estate agents in other parts of the country quite often. And what I'm hearing from agents in certain parts of Texas, certain parts of Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, is that they have been having a very different experience in their real estate market this past year as we have had in a lot of different instances. So I think a lot of it is going to depend on how many, obviously, how many people are moving there right now, but also how many homes builders have been building there. I think one negative thing about where we're at is builders have not been building much here. I think they're a little nervous too. And so there hasn't been a lot of that. But go ahead. And what were you going to say? No,
I think it's going to come down to what's it going to take for a seller to want to move?
Yeah.
That's the biggie is because myself, say I want to get out of my house. I want to sell off my current investment and flop it for another one.
Yeah.
Is there even a deal to be made out there that makes it realistic to exchange my 3% mortgage rate for this 6, even 5.5% mortgage rate at, by the way, $150,000 more than I bought 3 years ago because of the inflated market still? Does it make sense for me to make that move?
But that's where you and I have a different mindset on this, because
we definitely have a different mindset.
I'm like, if I want to, say a house comes on the market and I'm like, I love this house, that's where I want to be, then I want to buy the house because that's where I want to live and I want to buy the house, and I couldn't care less about the interest. I mean, I can't, obviously I can care about the interest rate, but it's not like an interest rate isn't going to stop me for buying the house I want to buy if I can afford it. And I know that that's where the issue is for a lot of people, is they can't afford to trade their house because their interest rate makes their payment so low. But I know for like people with my mindset, I'm still going to move. If it's an investment property, then that's a different situation. You know what I'm saying? But my house that I live in isn't necessarily, although it is an investment, my decisions that I make for it will be different than the decisions I would make for an investment property. But I do know a lot of people in that instance where they have two-bedroom house, for example, and their family's growing and they want more bedrooms, but they feel stuck because of their interest rate. But it's like, is that interest rate really going to hold them back, or eventually are they going to get to the point where they're like, we just need to move for what's best for our family? I don't know.
And in that, I believe, because I can reflect to 3 years ago, that was us. That was literally us. And I have family members myself here in the state that feel that way too. And it's what is the right thing to do? Because you're stuck at this low interest rate. You refinance, whatever. And it all comes down to the point of, is it affordable for you to make the move? Can you pay that mortgage off? But are you happy in your home life? I think one of the things I've learned in not being an old man, but becoming somewhat wiser in a
old man
in life, okay, just experiencing something is you always want a home. You want a home where you feel safe. You want a home that you don't feel crammed in. You want a home that's good for your wife and kids. And if the current one isn't the one for you and you got some equity in it and there's some type of sacrifice to be made to get you that home you've been wanting, then right now I can tell you is a decent time to make that move because of the negotiations we are able to be doing for you as the buyer's agent. Now, I'm not a miracle worker by any means. Not every real estate deal is the one for you. I was just sent 3 homes and the client wanted $50,000 off the overall ask price. Can I make that happen? Odds are it's a no. A hard no. But there are some instances where it can happen. And so you got to make the choice. Do you have the right home for your family right now?
Yeah. And can you afford to make that swap? So that leads me to another question, which is I've heard about people with low mortgage rates having golden handcuffs. What does that mean? We kind of just described that. That's basically what the golden handcuffs are.
That's a good visual, man.
It makes a lot of sense.
Everybody likes gold, but they don't like being cuffed.
But my message to you, if you think that you have those golden handcuffs, is don't let that stop you from living where you want to live. If the house that you live in is not on the side of town you want to live in, or whatever, or like moving would make your life more convenient, or you don't have the yard you want, or whatever, like don't let it be a golden handcuff. And obviously I understand a big reason is because of the affordability. So I'm not just saying go off and trade your house because not everybody can afford it. But if you can afford it, then don't just be like, oh, I have this 3% interest rate. Because like in 50 years from now, you're not going to care. You're going to be like, I wish I would have lived where I wanted to live. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that's a big point, though.
Yeah.
Like you and I talk about it often. We go on these crazy rampant like ideas and we start doing our research and we get all hyped up and then it never happens. But at the end of the day, we get ourselves excited about real estate. And real estate can make or break you, but ultimately, if you got a home over your head and you want to make a transition to another home that you think is the best fit for your family, right now's a decent time, whether it's across state or not.
Last question is, would you yourself, I'm curious, would you yourself buy or sell a house in today's housing market? Why or why not?
Dramatic pause, and it's a yes.
Oh,
I would sell.
Yes.
I would definitely sell. And it's like this. It's a Dave Ramsey route. You can love him, hate him. There's some aspects that I love it, but what's he say? Live now like no one. So later you can like live better than everyone.
Sacrifices?
In a sense.
What does that have to do with this though? I'm not.
Because I'm taking advantage of the market with all my sweat equity, but also home equity that I've had in the past years.
That reminds me of
something.
something.
So I can transition that money and buy cash elsewhere. That's the only way I'm moving.
Okay,
this is a substantial amount down.
Let me explain. This reminds me of something. Okay, so I'm talking to you. I'm talking to us too, because we're in this situation. We have the golden handcuffs. We have the low interest rate. But I'm talking to somebody who
Not one, but 2 properties.
Yes, with low interest rates. But I'm talking to somebody who wants to sell their house because of reasons that are not like financial, like they can afford to make the payment work, but they just feel like they can't get rid of that 3% interest rate, but their family's growing or whatever the reason is, they want to move to a different house, but they're not doing it because of that reason. Well, guess what? The reason that you have that super low interest rate. So what happened was interest rates were lowered, like historically low, and home prices went up 20% in 1 year. So because of that 3% or whatever, super low interest rate, you also have more equity in your home than you should ever have, and more equity than you would have had if you didn't get that super low interest rate. So it's kind of like a trade-off where it's like, does this make, I don't know if this makes any sense, but like you didn't deserve that equity. Like home prices have never gone up that much in history in that short amount of time. So yes, you're getting rid of the interest rate, but also you're using the equity, which could be smart if you're using it in a smart way. So,
and I hear what you're saying. I got to plug in my headset again, so just keep talking and go on to the next question. Okay.
Well, that was actually the last question, so we can go ahead and wrap up here. Thank you guys for hanging out with us today. Feel free to leave any of your questions or video suggestions in the comments below, or shoot us an email. We love chatting with you guys. I'll put our email address in the description. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week.